Hello and welcome to the Principal Liner Notes podcast. I hope that you are ready for some moments of inspiration and action and ready to kind of embrace the world. I am so grateful that Ryan Jackson, Dr. Ryan Jackson, is here with me. He is a school leader. He is a keynote speaker. He is also the founder of Fit Leaders, and we're going to get into that in just a few moments. But Ryan, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Sean, thanks for having me, buddy. Absolutely, just humbled to be here. Principal liner notes, man. I feel like I've made it. It's kind of rock star status. To be here connected with you, man. I really appreciate it, man. Glad to be here.
Well, the honor is all mine, and you and I have been connected over the years, through the our PLN, and I know we met in
Yeah,
lead up now, back in
we
that old PLN
we
back in the
did,
day.
man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I remember you being and you still are such an inspirational, force and the work that you've done to advocate for students and student voice and student choice, and to do it in a way that is very inspirational and powerful, has definitely had not only an impact on my leadership, but I know has impacted the leadership lives of others. And one of your passions, and I remember it, and it's good to see that you've taken it into this whole other realm, is fitness and wellness. And I'm just kind of curious, what is the origin story, if you will, of Fit Leaders? So if this was issue one of the Fit Leaders comic book saga, and you and I are both proud comic book aficionados, what is that origin story, man? Did you come from the planet Krypton or the planet Fit Leaders, or
Man,
no?
wow.
Were you bitten by a radioactive spider that had fitness
Man,
power?
I'll hop sort of genres here and go from one of our favorites, G.I. Joe, to Iron Man. There's a great issue, with Tony dealing with his alcoholism called Demon in a Bottle.
Yeah.
And really for me, Sean, that's the origin point there. But I'll tie it to a school, and it's cool that you and I have been connected for this long because I think you'll be accessible to some of this a little easier. When I started my career in education, this is the 2007, 2008 school year. I backed into education. I wasn't trained properly to be an educator. I didn't have my undergrad in education. I mean, I was getting paid to be a writer. I was trying to be a filmmaker. I'd produced a feature film, wrote and directed a few short films, took them to festivals. I'm living in Nashville, grinding it out, getting paid to be a writer. And then the recession hits. And the silver lining of the recession is my mother, blessed to her, she was, yesterday was her birthday, man. My mother had really needled me when sort of the storm was on the horizon, but I'm not paying attention to that, man. I'm in my 20s thinking about trying to be a filmmaker and working on the script that I had going on. She had talked me into taking this test called the Praxis Content Language Knowledge Test. Okay, I took the test. I think she even paid for it, man. So she gets me to take this test. I take the test and I pass it. Still not thinking anything about that, man. I got that in my back pocket. Well, the recession hits. I lose my job. I'm working as a copywriter in Nashville. I lose that job. But I'm sitting in a cafe and I see this front page article. Okay. Front page article, man. This is going to dovetail into your origin question, I promise. On the front cover, splashed across the headline says, hard to fill schools offering combat pay. That's the title of the headline, my friend. Hard to fill. I'll never forget. That's burned indelibly in my brain. Hard to fill schools offering combat pay. And below it, full picture is this veteran administrator who's got two knee braces on with a bullhorn in this swirl of kids. I mean, it was like Time Life, man. I'm hooked. I'm like, first of all, what is combat pay? And second of all, who is that person? Like, okay.
Nice.
So that person was Dr. Julie B. Williams. That school was Maplewood High School. And that's all baked into the story as I'm reading it. Man, I take that story and that praxis language content receipt I got in my pocket, and I call up this principal that's on the front of this newspaper. That's just where I was at the time, how desperate I was, and also the kind of guy that I am. So
Yeah.
I call her up. I've seen this article, and I want to work for Maplewood High School. That's how bold I was, man. I'd never taught a day in my life. I had been tutoring some kids on how to be better writers because I was writing so I
Mhm.
could get my hair trimmed up. Man, I've had this long ponytail, man, for as many years as I can remember. I'm afraid to cut it now. It won't grow back. But back in those days, I was trying to look fly. So we were doing this trade-off. But that's the only thing I could sell myself on was I had been mentoring these kids how to be better writers. But I go in and take this interview. I'll never forget, man. She's eating wings. And I would learn this later, man. When you're a principal, you're getting all the things done. So she's interviewing me while she's eating. I'm talking cartilage and all, man. And she's being very direct with me, very direct, and I'm BSing my way through the interview as best I can. But I'm letting her know she can feel the emotion. I want to work here. This is what I want. Okay. So pretty quickly, she's like, "Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna give you an opportunity, but they're gonna call you a redheaded son of a bitch." That's as PG-13 as I'll get. But that's what she
Yeah.
lets me know right there. That's what they're gonna call you. And you're gonna send them to me. And I'm gonna send them right back to you. So figure it out.
Wow.
Now, you and I both know it's tough to speak like that to people today. But in 2008, this is how I was being spoken to by Dr. Julie B. Williams, rest in peace. She gave me an opportunity to
Hmm.
get in the game of education. So she hires me, and I become an English teacher starting in the fourth quarter of one of the roughest schools in Tennessee. You say, how rough, my friend? Well, my first full year there, we have someone murdered at graduation at the ceremony. And it was a tough place to be at that time. So I start there as a teacher. I'm teaching there. I'm gonna flash forward a little bit. I'm teaching there, and it's intense, Sean. And I'd already, if I'm being honest with myself, I've already developed a drinking problem due to the writing experience. And here's what I mean by that. In those days, you're writing a script, you send it off, and it's a 2 week turnaround time minimum for somebody to get back to you. And
Hmm.
all I'm doing is waiting. So there's lots of waiting involved. So I'm already picking up this drinking crutch to kill time, to calm my nerves, all of that business. Now I'm into this very intense crucible of education, inner city. I've never done it. I got to figure it out because I got to get paid, but I do kind of like it too. It's all these things, man, that are just swirling. And alcohol just became the crutch, overdrive on it. All right. Flash forward a few more years. Julie Williams ends up retiring. I get another principal to come in. His name is Dr. Ron Woodard. Gives me an opportunity to be his dean of students. And it was around this time, Sean, this perfect storm of things started to happen for me. I met my wife. Her name is Dr. Leticia Skay Jackson. Man, she's getting ready to start her 19th year as an English teacher. So I meet her. Dr. Woodard comes into my life, gives me this opportunity to be his dean of students. I just finished my doctorate. So, kind of this perfect storm of cool things happening, but I've got this darkness that I'm not talking about out loud, with the exception of my wife, who's now starting to see it up close. And it's getting to a point where it's a problem behind the scenes, high functioning at work. I'm still doing that, but when I'm coming home, like I'm needing to until, man, I just made this decision, Sean. And it came one night after a very intense blackout night of drinking, ripped a door off of its hinge. That became my issue as well, Sean, as I age. And I hope we do talk a little about age. I won't consume all this time, I promise, man.
Keep
But
going, man. You
for
got
me,
this.
man, as I started to age, drinking's impact on me changed. And it was subtle, my friend, these small, imperceivable changes over time. But by the time it had hit this point, I was no longer the drunk I used to be. I wasn't that guy anymore. I'm angry. There's all these things going on, this swirl, this tornado in my head. So that's the place I'd gotten to. And then, my friend, I made this decision. I drew a line in the sand for myself. My
Mm,
wife's encouraging it, but she's not forcing it at this time. But I draw this line in the sand for myself. Man, she and I had talked about wanting to have a child. He's not born yet. I'm going into this new job that's going to require so much more of me. I want to be the best that I can, in all of these things that I have going on. And I just quit cold turkey, man. I just quit drinking. I remember the last beer that I had, which is a Heineken 22 ounce on New Year's Eve, man. It's the last beer that I've ever tasted, that I've ever touched. What I did was I took weightlifting, working out, and just completely traded it, Sean. And I'm going to go somewhere with this, man. So I completely traded that. And how was I able to do that? Because, man, I just graduated with my doctorate from Trevecca, so I had access to a free gym because I'm still broke at this time, man. I'm paying off student loans. Hell, I made less money as a dean of students than I did as a teacher. I had taken a pay cut to take
mm,
that job.
mm.
So I've got the access to the free gym, and man, I just hit it and I hit it hard. And at that time, Sean, the thinking was, well, I got to stop drinking. So I needed something in my brain, this hard switch flip to replace that. But also, I'm in this very intense environment, same school, Maplewood High School, but now I'm going from teacher, where I'd found incredible success, to dean of students responsible for 90% of the discipline of a pretty rough school.
Mm.
I felt I got to be on my best, man. I got to be tough. I got to be strong. I got to be all these things. So if you're asking for that honest truth, man, rooted in fit leaders, for me, man, it was about being the toughest version of myself I could be. And that includes being tough on myself, stop drinking, being tough and good at the job that I was in, be on your feet for sometimes 12 to 16 hours a day when you're working those games, you're breaking up things that are very intense, all the things that go with it, man. Fit leaders, that origin, be tough, live better, lead better, boycott average, all that, man, is in that crucible at that time. What I noticed though, so there, my wife gives me another good just 2 cents. She makes a comment to me one day, and this is how it's birthed, my friend. She makes a comment to me one day. She says, "You're spending all that time in the gym now. You should really try to do something with that." That was her only comment. You should try to do something with that. And then out of that, the fit leaders, hashtag was born. Now I'm in that group that you and I were in, that lead up group at that
Right.
time. And I even want to give you some credit, man. We'd have to track it down because I can't remember exactly how it was said necessarily. But I'm sharing this journey with that group at the time. I can remember that.
Hmm.
And man, you had a comment or said something to the effect like, "You're like a fit leader." And I'm serious, man. It was that kind of sentiment,
Wow.
that's like, man, that's what it is. That's what we're gonna be. Because I'm gonna ground it in this. At that time, especially on social media, there was not a space for educators to connect through fitness.
Yeah.
And I'll go even deeper than that. I mean, it was cringy to put yourself out there at that time and like
Mhm.
flex with a tank on or something, man. I mean, it just didn't happen. That
Yeah.
space wasn't there. No one was doing that. And man, I just put both feet into that space and shot up a flare that says, "Hey, if you're into this kind of thing and I'm going this way and you want to come with me, that's what's happening. And we're going to call it Fit Leaders. Here we go." And from there, people just they found that lighthouse and just gravitated towards it. And one by one, we sort of came into this collective group now called Fit Leaders that has transformed in its mission and vision, per se, but also in its scope, how we help other people, how it's changed my life since then. But you wanted that origin, man. That's root. For me, it starts with alcoholism, my friend, wanting to kick that and then be the best that I could, man, for the students that I fell in love with, for this school that I carried its flag, that no one could argue with me at that time, that these kids weren't as good as anybody else. I mean, it was all of those things, combined together, man, formulated, which is why I think as a pillar, Fit Leaders stands to this day because its origins are real. The impact that it's had on people, myself included, is very real. Ryan Jackson could go do something or God forbid pass away tomorrow, and that movement's going to continue, man, because it has become its own organic thing that people have proven that they like, that they need, that's useful. So I'm very proud of it, man, and just humbled to be talking about it. Thank you.
And that, Ryan, that's a beautiful story, and I appreciate your courage in sharing, some of the dark places of that origin story, and thinking about Tony Stark, and that issue. I remember that as a kid, Demon in the Bottle, being a very powerful, still one of a very powerful story, and out of that darkness, comes light. And light always, I'm kind of loosely quoting, Dr. King here, but darkness cannot win against the light, and darkness is always a fleeting thing. Light is eternal, and so I'm really grateful, and I'm empowered by you sharing that and your vulnerability there. Fit leaders, as I shared with you, um, is a hashtag that I was hanging on to during a time in my life where I was not probably the most healthy, and was burning the candle at both ends, and ended up in the hospital, and I was able to get through that, and kind of get things back together. But that hashtag was truly a motivational force for me, seeing other leaders and other folks, kind of cut from the same cloth that I was, investing time into their well-being, which they don't teach you in principal school. There's a couple of references, and if you're lucky, I'm sure there's a program someplace that talks about wellness as a leader, and balancing work life, and all of that. But realistically speaking, at least in my circles, it's not there. For that leader that's tuning in now, Ryan, that may not be as familiar, with fit leaders, what is a good kind of entry point to step into a community that all are included, all are invited. You don't need to be, some kind of a gym rat to be a fit leader. You don't need to be, cut or whatever. I made the joke with you that I don't have a six pack, I got a two pack.
Right,
um,
right.
you know but what is kind of that entry point for leaders to enter into the Fit Leaders PLN community?
Man, it's a great question, and it's kind of timely too. And I have a tendency, man, to just go on. So please feel the need to just cut
No,
me off
man,
and say
you
that's
got this.
good.
Keep going. Bring it,
Let's
man.
talk about something else. But it's
Bring it,
it's a
brother.
ti- it's a timely question, for this reason. Had
Exactly.
you asked me that a year ago, a year and a half ago, I would have certainly said, look, you can find the majority of us on Twitter, now X. Use the hashtag, go to the Fit Leaders handle, which is, at fit_leaders. You're gonna find us all. Just connect, jump in, share what you're doing. That was it. We were very much just a community.
Mhm.
But there's a couple of things baked into what you just said, how you teed this up for me, that have really helped us transition. Okay. So, the entry point now for people would be, please go to the website, fitleaders.us. It's new. I mean, literally, we just launched it. And the anchor of that website is our new 21-day challenge. And this is going to take us down a road, Sean, if you're good to talk about this,
Do it, man.
which is, to your point, Fit Leaders is not about bodybuilding. Fit Leaders is not about marathon running. Fit Leaders is very much about being your best, taking care of yourself so you can stay in the game for as long as you want. I
Right on.
think I shared with you, my wife is going on to her 19th year of teaching. I'm consulting with principals in their 30th year, of being in education, 20 years in administration. I mean, these are folks that have been in the game. So the idea for fit leaders is whatever it is that gets you motivated, whatever it is that gets you moving, that's Fit Leaders. Now, we've got the website, fitleaders.us. We've got this new 21-day challenge. And the reason the 21-day challenge becomes so foundational, Sean, is it helps human beings, specifically educators, specifically leaders, tackle the toughest thing a human being can do, my friend, behavioral change.
Mm.
Our 21-day challenge isn't about how many push ups you can do. It's not about how many miles you can run. Now, we've got a running companion guide. We've got an at home work fitness guide that are a part of our bundle for this 21-day challenge. But those are enhancements. The challenge itself is a personal journey of behavioral change that Fit Leader serves as the mentor, as the guide. But I use the blueprint of Joseph Campbell's, hero's journey. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, we're fit leaders now. After we ask you by day two, my friend, this is day two of the challenge. You are asked to identify that thing that has been gnawing at you, eating at you, tearing at you. You've been refusing to address it. Buddy, I've been there multiple times in my professional life, in my life. We've all been there. There's that thing, but you've been refusing to do it for whatever reasons. We've all got our reasons. Luke in Star Wars, he's on Tatooine, man. He really wants to be a pilot, get off world. He's got to stay because of the farm. I mean,
Yep.
come on, Uncle Owen. I don't want to stay here and do this, but I got to, man. Maybe next summer, you get it. I mean, but
Mhm.
then he meets who? Obi-Wan. What's Obi-Wan show him? The lightsaber. I mean, fit leaders in this particular journey introduces itself as that guide when we get you to confront this thing. And once you confronted it and said, this is the thing I want to fix, I'm not real comfortable talking with people about it, but I'll deal with it on my own with Fit Leaders as our guide now. We've got those services baked into the challenge to help you navigate this 21 days all the way down to the abyss. Man, we're going to take you to some places through this automated challenges that has its own workbook theory. I mean, it's super cool, man. You can tell I'm kind of excited about it, but I'm more excited about it, man, because I've always been a Carl Jung fan, way more than Freud. And when Jung talks about the shadow self, you've got to be careful with that stuff, man. If you do not address it, if you do not confront it, then it rears its head when you don't want it to, when you least expect it, specifically under crisis, Sean.
Yep.
And how many leaders, how many of us are in these intense crucibles with multiple crises on us at one time? And this stuff can rear its head, man, when we don't want it to. So we are now helping back to that entry point. Man, we are helping you with foundational fitness. We are helping you with behavioral change. We are helping you tap into a community that can motivate and inspire you, that can continue to communicate with you after you've started this challenge and you're well on your journey. So we essentially plug you in long term. Great entry point for folks. Fitleaders.us, 21-day challenge. Find us on any social media platform. We're heavy on X.
I love that,
That's where
man.
I'm starting.
And what I love about that entry point is and this is kind of a fundamental of any kind of workout routine is, whether it's leg day, arm day, cardio day, whatever day, you cannot skip a day without taking care of your core, your physical core.
Sure.
And but the other part of this, what I'm also hearing too, is that fit leaders not only values all of those things, but really the value is the core of you, is the, those values, those things that drive your leadership, that drive you as a person, is very much rooted, in that. And then the 21 days, is also rooted into, a behavioral change, a paradigm shift, if you will, building
Yes.
positive habit, because if we don't do it, and I'm living proof of this, if we don't do this, and you default to whatever mania that's in the course of your leadership, some bad stuff can happen. So you've got to make this as part of your habit as well. So Ryan, for leaders, getting started is also tough. And I'm sure there are some folks that are jumping on and going to fitleaders.us, or maybe in the middle of that 21 day challenge. So what's the advice? What's the wisdom that you can impart to that leader, after day 21, when the honeymoon's over, when the mania intensifies, when the external forces, come at you, when those internal forces, arise within, whether it's imposter syndrome or doubts or confidence. So what is your wisdom, day beyond day 21, when those things happen, when those things rear, as you say, they're ugly heads, whether it's within ourself or externally.
Great question, a loaded question, complex even. But so couple of approaches here. One thing the 21 day challenge does well, I believe, is through this transformational journey, we really get you to identify and appreciate every aspect of the journey, even the abyss where you have to confront it. I mean, you're there in it, but Fit Leaders is essentially holding your hand, but we're forcing you to confront it. You are addressing it. There's a silver lining in that. I've battled the dragon in the cave. I've been there, I've done that, and I've made it out. So there's this feeling of, affirmation of success, but you remember the palpableness of that. And when you're done with the 21 days, that still stands. You've got the workbook component that you filled out with it. It's going to become sort of this Bible for you. You've got that going forward. So when you hit that tempest, I'm still right here, man. I remember doing that work. I've been there. And where I'm going with that is,
Hmm.
I recently read this book called Happier. And Happier is based on one of the most successful college courses at Harvard. And it's essentially just how to get happier. And happiness ensues. So when you can find that sense of happiness that isn't the rat racer mentality that most of us have fallen into, which is I'll get happy when I get here. I think I'm going to find my happiness when I hit this achievement score for my school here. I'll be happy when I hit this bench press max over here. Man, happiness ensues when we do find that joy from moment to moment in the present, which the 21 day challenge, walking you through that process, forces you to find those silver linings in every step of the challenge. So we're sort of helping rewire your thoughts on change throughout the challenge. So when you're hit with this tempest, when you're hit with those multiple crises, man, your centered is stable. I mean, you have now rooted yourself, anchored yourself in this thing that you've confronted. You've confronted some darkness. You've gone through it. There's feelings that come with that on the other side that can no longer be taken from you. That's now anchoring you right now. But you're in the real world. You're back in life. You've completed the challenge. These things are coming at you. I'm going to give you that other piece of wisdom. You've got that anchor now. It's here, but you're still going to be hit with those imposter syndrome thoughts. Buddy, I've been principal of the year, a top 10 finalist, principal of the state. I spoke on the House floor in front of Congress, the state of Tennessee, about work we're doing. And Sean, I wake up some days, bro, and say, why would I do this podcast? Who wants to listen to me? I mean, so imposter syndrome is real, man. I absolutely understand it. Here's my wisdom on that. The easiest person to fool is yourself. The easiest person to fool is yourself. So we're going to stop negotiating with ourselves. Okay. We're going to stop that negotiation. Instead, we're going to tell ourselves, this is what we're doing today. This is how it's going to be done today. We've proven we can do hard things. We've made it to this point. We're not forgetting or dismissing or diminishing any of that.
Mm.
But what we have in front of us is incredibly challenging. And to start negotiating with ourselves is only going to keep us from making the progress that we know we're capable of. So we're going to get up when it's still dark and no one else is up. We're going to go to the gym. We're going to get on that bike. We're going to lace up those shoes. We're going to limit the limbic friction that's going to keep us from being successful, meaning I'll get my bag ready the night before. I'll have my pre-workout mix, whatever that thing is for you. We're going to limit that limbic friction. We're going to stop negotiating with ourselves, and we're quite literally going to just push forward incrementally every single day. I buy into a simple philosophy, Sean, that progress equals happiness, man.
Mm.
And ultimately, that's the ultimate currency is happiness. And happiness ensues, man. So happiness is when you get up and it's still dark and it's cold and the rest of the world hasn't woken up yet, but you're getting up to go to the gym. Are you nuts? Nah, man, I'm happy. And I'm in here doing what's best for me and my people. And I'm gonna be successful at my job because of it. All
Amen.
right, I get off my soapbox for a minute,
No,
but that's
no,
just
stay on it, brother.
that's the best wisdom I got for you this morning.
No, I appreciate that, and because I am that early pre-dawn workout guy, and I get a lot of stares and looks, and when I tell people I get up at 4, during the week because one something about that solitude and the stillness of the day that gives me happiness, and then it sets the tone. It sets the tone for my day. And I think that's key in all of any kind of fitness or wellness regimen is you have to find what works best for you. So whether that's a walk, whether it is kind of the rituals that you've got to put into it. I'm that guy that I've got to I have to lay out my clothes the night before. I am that person that has to have that pre-workout mix done. I have to do different things, and I keep saying to myself, this is a gift for me. And this gift is making me happier. This gift is making me a better person for my wife, my children, the school that I serve. I also appreciate, man, being a former high school English teacher myself. The reference to Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey and the monomyth and those things. And I'm just curious, and I just learned this, and I knew that you had done, back in your Maplewood days, some level of documentary and film and things like that. But I did not know that you were at one point in your life a full-time, screenwriter and filmmaker. So my question is film related. Being someone that appreciates film and appreciates leadership and education, what is that film for you that kind of serves as a template for leadership? A film that you visit that kind of inspires you that you've got to see and go, okay, I got my core straight. For me, it's Roadhouse, and I say that with all of the seriousness. That is a film that is truly about change leadership and about staying true to your core. Now, there's some things in the film that are a little over the top. I'm not
There's some things in
recommending
film
any.
that are awesome too, but
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I'm not recommending any principal, go and jack up the town bully, in a bar fight. But still, there's some things in that film that resonate to me
for
of
sure.
what good leadership is or what good change leadership is. So, what about for you, man? What's that film that does that for you?
Yeah, I'm actually glad you led on that because I was concerned, the one I'm going to reference is just an interesting choice. But that film for me is Apocalypse Now.
Oh man, yes.
1979, Francis Ford Coppola, based loosely off of Hearts of Darkness,
Right,
co-written by
right.
John Milius. I mean, it's not only a fascinating script and an adaptation of an already very interesting book, but it's so well executed. The history behind the film is it's a whole other amazing journey. But the film itself, okay, where you're gonna get into the mindsets of two different characters who may or may not essentially be different shades of the same person, okay, or different age versions of the same person. But a guy's given a mission, which is the kind of movie I love. You're going to take a mission and go up a river with a small group. It's a guys on a mission kind of movie that's very much cerebral, though, in nature. So
Yes.
he has to lead himself on a mission that he's not even that sure of what he'll do when he gets to the actual objective. But then when he meets the person at the end of the river and listens, and it, spoiler alert, he's sent there to kill this person.
Yeah.
But when he gets there, there's so much empathy and compassion and just listening that's taking place. I mean, you spend the whole time on this mission kind of ready for action. And when they get to the movie, it's actually this lesson in sympathy and psychology and family. I mean, it's just fascinating. But for me, it's about, in leadership, so often you're going to run into the unexpected, you'll run into the expected. There will be times when you think you've got it, there will be times when you think you don't, there will be times when you absolutely do not understand what's staring you directly in the face, and you still have to confront it and lead through it. I also love that particular film because at the beginning of that movie, Sean, and this was me in a nutshell, the good, the bad, and the ugly. At the
Mhm.
beginning of that movie, he's in a hotel room in Saigon. There's no action. All right. He's docile and it's killing him. I mean, there's the drinking scene, he's punching the mirror because he's stable in Saigon. Cut to the end of the film. He's getting ready to go get Brando. And
Yep.
we see him in that beautiful shot, man. It's iconic. He's coming out of the water with the face.
Yep.
Right. Dude, he's in the middle of the jungle and he's completely calm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, man, it just gave me goosebumps thinking about there. There are those of us that actually are our best in those environments,
Yeah.
but it's about how do we create, and this is tying back to your fit leaders bit on consistency and sustainability. How do we keep ourselves at that level in those environments for as long as we want to? Okay. And in that particular movie, back to your question, when he finishes the objective and the radio calls are coming into him from his people to check in, man, he turns the radio
Yeah.
off and drifts down the river and you don't know where. I mean, it's just beautiful to me, man. It's like, look, I'm capable of all this. I've shown you that I can do that, but I'm also my own person. And I think that's what I'm trying to do here with Fit Leaders, Sean, especially with this new direction, sort of this new era of Fit Leaders, is we want to help you connect with your authentic self. You know who I empathize with the most, my friend, is superintendents and principals. Now, I led in a rural county most recently, all right?
Mhm.
I'm in rural Mount Pleasant, Tennessee. I loved my time there. It's very intense, but I loved it. But I was essentially the de facto superintendent. I'm the executive lead principal over a cluster of schools.
Yeah.
So I share that to say, superintendents and principals at times you're trying to placate and please and appease so many different groups, so many stakeholders. It's easy, Sean. It's a slippery slope to start losing yourself. I don't want to speak out on things because it's not on brand over here.
Mhm.
I want to do this, but I got people to feed, man. I mean, there's just a lot that goes into these kinds of roles. And if you're not careful, those small imperceptible changes over time, man, you start to separate from who you really are. So Fit Leaders is stepping in to try to help you compartmentalize some of that while maintaining the authenticity of who you are, man. Thank you for letting me kind of get that part off my chest too, man. I appreciate that. And that's a beautiful question about Apocalypse Now, man. That's one of the best podcast questions I've ever had.
Oh
Thank you,
man,
man.
I'm honored by that. That's one of my all-time favorite movies. The and just how, the transformation of Martin Sheen's character at the beginning, which that scene that you're talking about in the hotel room, that was real. Like that, there
Oh
was
yeah,
no acting going on. Like he was going
he was
through
in a dark spot, man.
a
Yes.
very dark spot, and so that when he punched that mirror, that was real. him drinking,
Yeah, the blood's real. That's all
yeah,
real. Keep
that was real
rolling.
booze, all of that, man.
Yes.
That was
Yes, man. Powerful.
the to me in that film, and there's so much in that film, man. Just a quick apocalypse now rabbit hole. To me, out of all of the violence and bloodshed and disturbing things that happen in that film, and it is a very graphic depiction of war, is to me is actually one of the most serene scenes in the film. Is to me is the most disturbing scene is when they get Sheen, and he's having lunch with the general and I guess the CIA guy Harrison Ford, who you
Yep.
blink it, who has a cameo in that film,
Correct. Yes.
and they're listening to
The
uh
audio.
the audio, which is so disturbing because Marlon
Yes.
Brando's character is insane, and I love the sequence where the general basically in this scene of just upheaval, peaceful upheaval, he gives kind of the moral of the whole film, the theme of the whole film, and he's like, there are times when a man, goes to a place, and we all have it, and sometimes we get out of that place, sometimes we don't, and
Colonel Kurtz has found his is the
well,
line.
Kurtz has found
Yeah.
his exactly. His
Yeah.
methods have become what is it? His methods have become unsound, and
Correct.
and then Harrison Ford again, who is kind of this nerdy attaché to the general. He's got glasses and he's nervous. He clears his throat and he says, "Terminate. You terminate the colonel's command with extreme prejudice."
Yeah.
Great line, and Dennis Hopper, in that film is amazing. Everybody in that film is
And
amazing.
you know why I love that scene you're talking about the most, and that's a scene that I came back to as an adult the most.
Yeah.
Because if you dig into the CIA's involvement in Vietnam, specifically, and the secret war, where you get into SOG, which is man, I forget the acronym now, but
Mm.
standards, objectives, whatever it was, is a small group that CIA funded where we're going into Laos, we're going into Cambodia, we're doing these cross-border missions that are illegal. We're not supposed to be
Yeah.
doing it,
Yeah.
which is so when you dig into that history, which has now been documented, it's spoken about, pretty loosely. But when you watch the movie and you get to that scene, and this is 79, bro, before this stuff is public, before
Hmm.
it has come out, you're dealing with a CIA operative telling another special forces guy to go into Cambodia where we're not supposed to
Supposed to
be,
be at all.
where Kurtz has taken his group of Montagnards, right? Which
Mhm.
is, again, when you look at the real life stuff that was happening, you would take one or two US guys and put them with a team of Montagnards, and you would go out and just cause havoc over the border. I mean, it was just baked into real life stuff that at
Yeah.
the time seemed kind of fantastical, but now we look at it as like, man, that scene is real, man.
Very real.
Yeah, that's powerful. And we would eliminate our own guy if we had to, because and it's that dangerous thing about power too, this idea that power corrupts,
Yeah.
right? I mean, because the general, who I think is on one hand, he's sort of idolizing Kurtz, like,
Yeah.
man,
They
it
were
must
they
be
were
cool to
friends.
play God, is what he
Yeah.
says, out
Yes.
there with his people, and they're doing whatever he's asking them to do. But on the other hand, there's madness. I mean,
Yes.
so it's this power corrupts kind of thing. And then you meet Kurtz at the end, and he is mad, but he's also saying these things that are just incredibly so true, man. Like, we're dropping fire on people, but they won't let me write the F word on the side of a plane. Like, what are we
Yeah.
talking about? I mean, he's just making these great practical
Yeah.
points that are
He
just so true in leadership.
just a demented genius, and again getting to that power thing, and again, for those that haven't seen Apocalypse Now, and spoiler alerts everywhere, but that's okay. Um, the scene when after Sheen takes out Brando and he walks away and everyone's kneeling, and for a second, and I often wonder, did Martin Sheen's character Willard, did he consider, you know being the heir apparent to Kurtz, and he walks away. He walks away and goes back. It's like I'm going back to Saigon. I'm waiting for the next mission. you know um and clearly the character. That's the other thing, that opening scene with the CIA operative and Harrison Ford. They go through what, about two or three missions that he's done, because he's basically an assassin. And
Correct.
do you have any recollection of 1965, of the death of? And he's like, I can neither confirm nor deny it.
Right.
Just this guy, but still, I often wonder, where does Sheen's character go? And it's probably irrelevant. He's faced his own darkness and he's walking away from it. And
That's how I like to see it, Sean.
yeah,
You're right, because I think there's a lot of different ways you could go, and that's why I think the ending is so beautiful, the way they end it. I
yeah,
like to choose to think he's confronted his own abyss, his darkness. Kurtz is himself, man. He's battling that demon of what I'm to become or what I can become. Because
yeah.
there's another great bit in there, another blink and you'll miss it kind of moment. Another actor I love named Scott Glenn.
Oh
You know,
yes,
so Scott Glenn plays the first assassin they send in to get Kurtz. Only when he finds Kurtz, he falls in with him. He
yeah.
meets Martin Sheen there on the steps, and he's got these other Americans, or we think might be a yes.
He's cradling the rifle, just that stare, man. And the thing about Scott Glenn,
He gets hired, goes in there, and
yeah,
he's never seen again or heard from. So the CIA has to find their guy that will do the mission. And it does end up being Willard, but when it's over, he's changed indelibly. That's how I
yes,
like to believe it. I've confronted that. I've heard the truth from me at an older version of me. I mean, it's just a lot of beauty in
yeah,
that, man. And he turns the switch off and says, no, man, I'm riding off and I'm taking this other dude with me. You're not
yeah,
gonna hurt us
yeah.
anymore.
Scott Glenn is such a great actor. I don't know if you know the story. Apparently, when they were making that film, he was an extra or whatever, and
He saved Coppola's life.
saved Coppola's life, and Coppola says, "I owe you a life debt. Any part that you want in the film is yours."
Yeah.
He ends up picking the part where he doesn't say anything. You blink and you'll miss it, and it all had to do with, I just wanted to be in the same scene with Marlon Brando.
Yeah. I wanted in proximity to Brando. I wanted to
Yeah,
be by him. I wanted to be in the end. Right,
yeah.
right.
I just think that's such a cool thing. On another note, man, I know you're a big fan of GI Joe. You're as I am. You grew up with it. How many issues? You said about 4 or 5 issues left to complete the collection.
Yeah, I'm a comic book guy, but specifically grew up just loving G.I. Joe, the toys, the cartoons, the comics, etc. And a few years back, man, I bought the Marvel app for my son when I'm kind of getting him into reading, so I'm trying to just
Nice.
open his world to things. So I get the Marvel Unlimited app. We can watch it on read it on our iPad. And lo and behold, I get the app, man, really excited about G.I. Joe because Marvel produced that original run and it's not on there. So everything's on there in the Marvel universe, but not the G.I. Joe run, a real American hero, as it's called. So I start collecting it. I mean, that's why I got into it, collecting physical comics. So, man, I just went here and there. I'm finding them piece by piece. Man, I am now up to 151 of 155. I am four left to go, man, and I have that entire original run, all written by Larry Hama. I mean, all incredible in their own standalone. I've got the silent issue, with Snake Eyes, which is now probably the pinnacle of that entire run. There's no words, no caption bubbles in the entire issue. I've scored that one. It's in my lot. So yeah, big time fan, man.
Oh man, that's great, man. I'm a big fan, big time fan as well, and I hope you find those issues, man, and complete the collection. How can folks get a hold of you? I know Fit Leaders. You've got the 21-day challenge. I see you're wearing one of the Fit Leaders shirts with the logo there, proudly displayed. So how can folks connect and interact with you, Ryan?
Easily to find me on X. I'm at Ryan B. Jackson 1. I'm on Instagram as well, at Underdogs Advocate. I'm also on Facebook. Please check us out on the website. That's www.fitleaders.us. And look, if you're not ready quite yet for the 21-day challenge, you just want to dip your toe in the well, pick your social media platform, put in hashtag fit leaders, and you're going to see any and everybody, all walks of life, all different levels of professionalism in terms of where they are on their professional journey. Superintendents, teachers, parapros, we're all in there. It's a unique group that's really designed to do one thing: support, uplift, and encourage each other. And that's what we're trying to do each and every day, man.
That's it, man. It is hashtag fit leaders, and Ryan is not joking that it really it's a truly an inclusive community, that all shapes, sizes, skill levels, titles. It really is a great group, and it is a group of encouragement. So if you're looking for inspiration, if you're looking for that additional push, if you're looking to find, kind of like-minded folks that will embrace you and encourage you and carry you along the way, hashtag fit leaders and then fitleaders.us. I will put all of those links in our show notes, and again, feel free to connect and to play around there, whether you're doing 21 days, one day, whatever it is moment to moment. And any moment that you are doing, leaning into taking care of yourself, however large, however small, is a good moment. So
And I'll add, man, or I'll probably be remiss later. Ryan at fitleaders.us is my email. So I've dipped my toe into career and confidence coaching, still doing the speaking. We're getting ready to move into some conference packaging. So it's an exciting time for Fit Leaders and for me personally and professionally. But Ryan at fitleaders.us is my email address if those are looking to connect directly.
I'm excited for you for that, man. And I tell you, I've just been motivated and inspired and coached up in this time together and with you. And I know that folks who are tuning in are feeling the same. You are the GOAT, my friend. And
Thank
yo
you, man.
Joe, and
For sure.
thank you for being a part of this episode today, my friend.
Hey, thank you, man, for blessing me with the title Fit Leaders, man. Whether you remember or not, bro, I know that came from you. So thank you, man. I appreciate that.
You just blew this bald head's mind, man. I'm honored by that and I'm grateful for that. So
Yeah, you've
uh,
always been cool, Sean. You always have, man. Thank you.
likewise, brother. Likewise, man. We're lifetime, my friend.
For
Uh,
sure.
we're going up the river together, man. Facing that darkness and bringing
I'm
some
with
light
it,
to
man.
that
Yes,
dark.
sir. I got your
Never leave
back.
the boat. Never leave the boat.
Never get off the boat, man, unless you're willing to go all the way.
Exactly. Nice, nice. Man, let's sign off here. This is the Principal Liner Notes podcast. Don't forget to share with the world your dreams, your ideas, your visions, because the world needs them, and you help make the world a better place, just like my man, Ryan Jackson. Ryan, I owe you a life debt, and I'm grateful for that gift of Fit Leaders, my friend. This is the Principal Liner Notes podcast. This is Sean Gaylord signing off. Catch you on the flip side.